Zoo Boys, Chapter 7, Part C. Jeremy was mystified while looking at the bottom of the pool. He couldn't believe what his eyes saw. Countless, furry, miniature tigers. John confirmed what Ron had thought. Yeah, they just have claws, but no teeth. That must mean they were born not too long ago. Normal baby tigers don't get their teeth until a few short weeks after being born. Jeremy said, I've heard of alligators in the sewer, but this is nuts. Baby tigers in a tide pool? Man, I don't want to meet their mom and dad. Dave said, you would be fresh meat for their mom and dad. The boys were able to let down their guard long enough to laugh at that. It was Ron who sobered up first. Guys? Birds! They were the only words he could get out. So far, they related birds with being dive-bombed. The rest followed his line of sight. The sky darkened by a flock coming their way. John shouted, "A flock of seagulls!" Then he sang as he ran, and I ran so far away. John left the others in the dust. They never saw him run so fast, so far, and without shoes. He even outran Quasi. Behind them, they heard the birds squawking as they fought each other for food. Ronnie felt bad for the baby tigers, but he realized if those babies had teeth, he would have been made into a Ronald McDonald burger, a Happy Meal for at least part of that tiger clan. While his friends ran on ahead, he was still getting his shoes back on. He knew he could catch up with ease. He was faster than all of them, especially when being chased. As Ron joined the other boys, they had just found refuge in one of the abandoned buildings located at least 100 yards from the tiger pool they left behind. There was no difficulty in entering. Vandals had already been there apparently and done their damage. The lights were on, and so there was no dark corners. There was even soft, smooth jazz playing overhead. That was a nice and smoothing, although they could barely hear it over their own pants for breath. They finally felt safe and collapsed on the floor. They weren't the least bit sleepy, even though they had only gotten about an hour or two of sleep last night. They were young, strong, and filled with zeal for life. Each of them were used to running on very little sleep. They had a bad case of FOMO, fear of missing out. They laid there, each of them catching their breath, so that they'd be ready to run again. Ronnie said, "Sorry about your shoes, John." John laughed as Ron continued. His voice was timid, sincere, and fragile. "No, really, I am. I'm sorry." Jeremy laughed as he asked, "Yeah, haha. Why didn't you just retract the wheels and run?" Ron responded quick and sharp. "I was under attack." He tried to keep his voice strong, full of force, but without yelling. "They were all over my shoes. Well, John's shoes, and they were climbing up my jeans," he gasped. Then I realized I couldn't skate up the wall. I didn't know what to do. So I kicked him off. I never seen baby tigers like that, and as I kicked the shoes, John's shoes, they just flew off, man. The shoes flew off. Oh, he sounded overly concerned. Honest, guys. Honest, John. I'm so sorry. Dave spoke up. It's okay, isn't it, John? John agreed. Sure. Look how fast I ran, even without shoes. John didn't want Ron to feel bad, but thought it was funny that Dave replied for him. It was sure easy for Dave to say it's okay. He still had his shoes. John then thought of one of the bad dad jokes he heard once. He shared it with his friends. Never judge a man until you've walked a mile in his shoes, because then you'll understand him better and you'll have his shoes. Just like most bad dad jokes, it really wasn't that funny. The boys kind of gave a courtesy laugh, followed by the usual groan. Jeremy joked half-heartedly as he made a silly offer. Hey, John, you can have one of my shoes. Dave said, Yeah, John, one shoe is better than no shoes at all. I heard a joke that pointed out how shoes have a tongue, eyes, even a soul. Back on subject, Dave commended John and Ron. Both you dogs did good. You fought them like champs. John was thrilled that Dave was commending them rather than condemning them or commanding them. He thought, he even called me dog. He thanked Dave, then confirmed, it really, actually, really was fun. Ron said, after I got over the initial fear, I felt really good. I still feel good. Amazingly great. Jeremy sat up and looked over at Ron. He saw something squirming in Ron's pelvis area. He asked, made you feel good how? I don't know, just like really good, like just good. I don't know. I never felt that before. I felt like a real man. Did you tingle? Ronnie thought for a moment. No, I didn't feel a tickle. Not tickle, tingle. Tinkle like you mean pee? Jeremy got frustrated. No, tingle. Tingle. Look at your pants. While still laying flat, Ron raised his head to look down at his jeans. By this time, Dave and Ron sat up and noticed the movement around Ron's groin area. Ron reached into his pocket. He pulled out one of the baby tigers. All four of them dropped their masculinity for a brief moment, long enough to let out a "Aww." Dave hated any sign of being soft, tender, or cute. He reverted back to trying to be what he thought was more manly. He lowered his tone and let out, "He's so cool." The boys gathered around the extremely miniature version of a baby tiger in the palm of Ronnie's hand. Rather than taking turns, they all reached out to touch, pet, and cuddle it. Quasi came over to inspect as well. Ronnie warned Quasi, "Don't eat him. He is our friend too. We don't eat friends." John pointed out, "See? He's just a newborn." Dave admired John's knowledge. He asked, "Will he get any bigger? He's so tiny." John studied him. "Well, I mean, I think a little bigger, but not as big as a normal baby tiger. See? Look, he has no teeth. Regular baby tigers are born with no teeth. They get their teeth, I think, a little later, probably a couple weeks after they're born. This one and those in the pool had no teeth, just claws. So, honestly, actually, who really knows? This little guy or girl is smaller than even a brand spanking newborn normal tiger. But he has got to be the cutest, world record worthy smallest tiger." The tiny tiger curled up in Ron's palm and quietly began to purr. Ron whispered, "Can I keep it?" Dave spoke for all of them. "Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm sure your mom will love him. Just love him. But you gotta name it. Name it anything but Tony. That name's already taken. He's great." Ron looked toward John. "What does she eat? How do I feed a tinsy baby tiger?" John guessed mother's milk? He probably nurses. As if on cue, Quasi lay down and rolled over belly up. John said with surprise, "Quasi's trained." Dave shouted, "Quasi has boobs." Jeremy asked, "He's a she?" "Attach her to her teat," John encouraged. None of them were ready for this real-life biology lesson. Jeremy volunteered, "I'll do it." Ron turned away, cupping the infant in both hands close to his chest. While looking at Quasi's underside, he insisted, "No, no, sir. He is a she, and she is a she, and she is mine. I'll do it." "It is kinda weird, but it's just natural, right? I'm no perv." Dave laughed at Ronnie. "Yeah, no, it's not perverted, you perv. You're a perv for thinking it's perverted." Ronnie ignored Dave's ignorance as he bowed down and attached his baby to one of 8 nipples Quasi had, making readily available. The tiger latched on. Dave commented, "Good thing it don't have teeth yet." The boys were confused and swept up with wonder of how female bodies work. They were never around babies much, and all the girls they knew were too young to even produce milk. At least, that's what they thought. Their minds secretly tried to picture their own mother breastfeeding them when they were babies. The atmosphere... I lost my place. They really... feeding them, the babies. They realized this was all just part of growing up, maturing, and reaching a healthy understanding of this newly found fact of life. The atmospheric music stopped. The boys stood there, not sure if they should be watching Quasi. There was an awkward silence, other than the tiger purr and suckling, a few noises outside, random birds and crickets and stuff like that. They had not noticed that John slipped away from the group. He was the only one who noticed the audio stopped, so he went to investigate. He discovered a small sound room. The soundboard channels were labeled, indicating what music and nature sounds were set up for what location throughout the park. His eyes focused on one that said sound effects / music for here / gift shop. He turned a few knobs and slowly turned up the volume. The building filled with the voices of strange, wild, dangerous jungle animals. He peeked out the little window to see how his friends were reacting. Not only did they take a defensive stance, Quasi jumped up onto all fours, ready to chase or be chased. Ronnie dropped to the floor when he saw his kitten tiger dropped off Quasi's nipple. John lowered the volume and yelled into a desktop mic, "Boys, it's just me, God, ha 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 ha." John was proving to be a fun, valuable member of this little personal gang. He lowered the sound level to 0, strolled out of the sound booth. The look on the boy's face was still one of fear. Even Quasi was still overcoming the shock. She stood there, head risen, body rigid, tail sticking straight back, and looking in the direction where the speakers were located. Before John was able to gloat over how he was able to pull off scaring them, he noticed a few moments of silence. His friends weren't ready to tell him yet. His friends weren't ready to yell at him. The three of them weren't even looking at him coming out to join them. They had their eyes fixed in the same direction that held Quasi's full attention. John said, "Guys, it was just me. I know you heard the overhead." Dave just silently held up his hand like he did on the beach last night when they arrived. It was a clear, nonverbal sign telling John to shut up and be still. He resisted the urge to just repeat the sounds. I'm sorry. He resisted the urge to just repeat that the sounds were just canned tapes, music, fake overhead. He thought quickly how well he pulled off his prank, giving them a monumental scare. The silence was suddenly replaced by a massive lion roar. The sound waves were so powerful it shook the chandelier, vibrated the empty glass shelves, and caused pieces of the window that were broken to drop out of their frame. John ran to join his group of friends while he confessed, "That wasn't me." Dave spoke softly without moving his lips. "Nobody move. Everyone stand completely calm and completely still." He crouched down slowly to pick up a pole that at one point was part of a device to hang the zoo's t-shirts. He raised back to his feet in slow motion. The four of them, and Quasi, witnessed just the tippy-top hairs of the large lion's mane rise up from behind one of the cash registers. Dave suggested, "Let's fight it." John jumped in to educate Dave about smart fear. "Now, Dave, damn, let's not be too quick to act here. We all know you are brave enough to know know that a healthy fear can be oh boy, the smartest thing to have in a time like this. Well, like this." The lion raised up higher. As it yawned again, they saw its full mane and extremely sharp teeth. Dave said, "It's us or him. We gotta fight him. Besides, there are four of us, plus Quasi, and only one of him." John still pleaded, "No, now Dave, but be smart and be brave." The lion's head lowered back behind the counter. They heard him slowly moving around the L-shaped cashier box. Jeremy spoke soft and calm as calm as he could. "I think we woke him up." Ron's voice was quivering with fear. His words came out long and slow as he clutched onto his newborn baby. "I am cranky when I first wake up." Dave yelled, "Yee-haw! Okay, time to be smart brave." They saw the left side of the lion as it seemed to enjoy just creeping out, stalking them. John said, "Shh, no shouts, no, yeah, healthy smart, yeah, smart fear now, Dave." Dave reacted to John, "Oh yeah, I'm being smart too." John joined in, trying to encourage Dave. "Dave, buddy, the smart thing right now is to run. Don't be a smart aleck, but be smart." Ron helped. "Yeah, I agree. I would be dumb. It would be dumb. You're not dumb. It's dumb to fight a lion, a full-grown lion. John made eye contact with the other two and nodded. Ron spoke softly to the others, almost couldn't hear him. He's almost out. He's coming. He's coming. He's coming. The lion's head came completely around from behind the long counter where people at one point lined up to pay for gifts from the gift shop. Ronnie closed his eyes and held his tiny tiger close to his chest. He heard his friends begin to laugh. Ron closed his eyes even tighter. He was almost in tears. It's not funny, guys. Jeremy put his hand on his young friend's shoulder. That made him jump. Jeremy said kindly, Ronnie, take a peek. Look, it's okay. It's funny. Ron opened just one eye, then belted out, What? The boys were relieved and entertained. The lion was 100% lion in its head and face, but he had the body of a seal. John asked Dave, Do you really want to beat up a baby seal? Dave laughed. I was ready to. I could beat just the head, right? JK, this is just make it easier to run from him, huh? Ronnie said, We're keeping Quasi, my baby tiger, but I don't want to keep him. Dave rounded them up. Get all your stuff, men. Let's get going. That lion really sealed the deal. Ha ha. They offered a little chuckle, and Ronnie tucked the baby tiger back into his pocket. Then he yelled, I'll name her Tina. Tiny Tina. Ronnie wondered if he could really be able to keep her. As they left the gift shop and the partial lion, partial seal behind, Jeremy walked with a skip, trying to sing his own words to the tune of Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf from the Three Little Pigs story. Who's afraid of the big bad seal? Sea lion. Sea lion? A sea lion. Get it, guys? See? It was a sea lion. Ha ha! Jeremy was discouraged when his friends had no reaction. John was up by Dave, promising him he could fight the next real obstacle. Ronnie was in the back, his tiger in his pocket and Quasi in the rear. Suddenly he had a great idea. He spoke up. Let's go to the ropes obstacle course. Dave yelled back. Yeah, look, where do you think we're going? Duh! They could see it towering over the tops of the trees. It was so high it could be seen from several areas in the zoo. Jeremy confirmed, to the ropes. And that's the end of all of Chapter 7. On to Chapter 8.